It was spring in family farm, and the big blue tractor and the plough were out ploughing first thing in the morning. But Tec hadn't woken up properly yet.
Tec! Tec!
Called someone, and the little tractor looked around sleepily. Murmured Tec.
Here!
Shouted the voice.
Sam, is that you?
Asked Tec.
Yes, and I'm fed up of waiting. I want to go to the field to scare crows.
He said in an irritated voice.
But the big blue tractor has to finish ploughing first,
said Tec.
I know, but maybe he's finished already. He's been out there since first thing this morning,
said Sam the Scarecrow.
I won't be long,
said Tec, and off we went to the field.
Good morning, Tec,
said the hens.
Good morning, hens. Beep, beep.
Tec sounded his horn. By the time he got to the field, he was out of breath, and so he stopped to look at the big blue tractor and the plough ploughing.
Pity I wasn't a big, strong tractor like the big blue tractor.
But if Tec was small, even the big blue tractor looked small in the big field. And to Tec's surprise, he had only ploughed a quarter of a field.
My goodness me! Sam the Scarecrow will be very disappointed,
said Tec to himself, and he was on his way back to the shed when his attention was caught by the gulls who were looking for worms for breakfast.
I'm lucky I'm a tractor and not a gull. I would never be able to eat worms. Yuck!
Spat Tec. But while Tec was looking at the gulls, he wasn't paying attention to where he was going, and suddenly he turned on his side into the middle of the furrow.
You potatoes, what's happened?
Squeaked Tec. And though he tried to go forward and backward, he couldn't, because his two wheels were in the air. The big blue tractor came nearer. Then Roy jumped out of the cab and walked over to Tec. "What are you doing there, Tec?" But before he had a chance to answer, Roy had lifted him out. "You look frightened, Tec. Are you okay?" asked Roy.
Yes, thanks. I would love to be able to plough and plant seeds,
said Tec. "Why don't you go and help Molly in the garden?" said Roy.
That's a good idea,
said Tec, and off he went. But before going into the garden, he popped into the machine shed to tell Sam the Scarecrow that the big blue tractor had not finished ploughing the field.
Goodness gracious, that means I'll be in this shed for days,
said Sam in a disappointed voice.
No, of course you won't,
said Tec.
He'll have finished by tonight, you'll see, and I'll go back to the field again before lunch to see how he's getting on. I have to go now. I'm on my way to the garden to help Molly. Bye-bye,
said Tec, tooting his horn.
Toot-toot.
Lucky for some,
said Sam the Scarecrow sadly. But that was that. There was nothing for it but to dream. Dream that his feet were in the mud and his nose in the sky, and that all the crows had flown far, far away. In the garden, Tec and Molly were busy gardening. It was Tec's job to carry the plants, and Molly's job to plant them. "I'm going to plant new potatoes first," said Molly. 1 potato, 2 potatoes, 3 potatoes, 4 potatoes. And by the time she had reached the end of the row, there were no potatoes left in the box. Now then, what about the lettuce? Molly said. And Molly started to plant the lettuce plants at the top of the row. 1 lettuce, 2 lettuces, 3 lettuces, 4. And by the end of the row, all the lettuces were planted and the box was empty.
Toot toot, well done,
tooted Tec happily. My word, look at the time, Tec. I'd better go and prepare lunch, said Molly, pulling off her gardening gloves.
Goodness gracious, said Tec. I promised to Sam that I would go back to the field to see how the ploughing was coming along.
And off he shot out of the garden. Molly gathered the equipment together and off she went to the house. Tec drove past the shed and up the lane and through the gate to the field where the big blue tractor was still ploughing. As she started to prepare lunch, Molly heard a funny sound coming from outside. She looked in the back garden, but there was nothing there to make a noise, only the clean clothes drying in the sun. She looked across the farmyard. Nothing there either. But as she turned to go into the house, she heard some clucking and bleating coming from the garden, and off she went to see what was going on. What a shock! Someone was in the garden. She saw a pair of horns and some feathery tails. Gertie the goat and the hens, they were all pecking and scratching and trampling in the garden. Shoo, shoo, out you go, you naughty things, she shouted at them. Tec was driving across the farmyard when he heard all the shouting coming from the garden.
Oh my goodness,
he squeaked before driving as fast as his wheels could take him to the battlefield.
Out you go, toot,
shouted Tec, tooting his horn angrily.
Out you go, shoo!
And at last the two succeeded in driving all the animals out again. But what a mess in the vegetable garden. And while the big blue tractor was ploughing, Tec and Molly were busy trying to sort out the garden. We've finished at last, said Molly. Thanks for your help, Tec.
You're welcome, Molly.
And Tec drove out of the garden. And Molly made sure that she closed the gate this time. Then Tec went back to the field once more to watch the big blue tractor ploughing. By the time he had arrived, the big blue tractor had ploughed over half the field.
Great! Sam will be delighted, said Tec happily.
But then, all at once, the big blue tractor stopped and wouldn't move an inch. Tec went closer to see what was the matter.
Oh, I'm ill. I've got a tummy ache,
moaned the big blue tractor. And indeed he did look ill, and there was a very strange noise coming from his tummy. But after putting his head under the bonnet, "I know what's wrong with him," said Roy, and he asked Tec to go to the tool shed to fetch a new diesel filter for the big blue tractor.
Of course I'll go,
said Tec, before tooting his horn and going towards the farmyard.
The big blue tractor must have a terrible tummy ache,
said Tec. And when he reached the farmyard, it was not long before he had found the diesel filter and took it back to the field. In a second, Roy had let out the wind from the big blue tractor's tummy and had fitted a new diesel filter instead of the old one.
"Oh, that's better," said the big blue tractor as Roy climbed into the cab and started the engine.
The tractor felt a lot better, although he looked very tired.
Ploughing must be very hard work, even for a big tractor,
thought Tec. But how on earth was he going to tell Sam that they hadn't finished ploughing the field?
Toot toot! Sam!
Tec sounded his horn as he got to the shed. But what a shock! Sam the Scarecrow wasn't there. Where had he gone? Tec was tired by now after going back and forth between the shed and the field all day, and he didn't feel like going to look for Sam the Scarecrow. But he decided that he had better go and check the garden, just in case Gertie or the hens had crept back in and made a mess again.
Hey, Tec, look at me!
Shouted someone.
Tec, Tec!
And Tec followed the voice into the garden. And who do you think was standing in the middle of the potato patch? Yes, no less than Sam the Scarecrow himself.
What are you doing there, Sam the Scarecrow?
Shouted Tec.
"No, I'm Sam the Scarehens now,"
Laughed Sam.
The big blue tractor hasn't finished ploughing the field yet,
said Tec.
"Oh, I don't care about the field now. I'm enjoying myself here,"
said Sam the Scarehens. It was springtime in Family Farm. The flowers were opening, the trees were in bud, and the birds were singing. But Tec looked very miserable.
What's the matter with you? Have your tires gone down?
Asked Quack Jack.
No,
Said Tec.
"Why are you so miserable then?"
Asked Hannah.
I've I've got nothing to do, said Tec.
Come with me to look for some worms,
suggested Quack Jack.
No, thank you,
said Tec. That very second, Molly, Kate's mum, came rushing out of the house. Tec, hurry, she called. We're going to Greenfield Farm, now.
Greenfield Farm! Brill!
Tec gave a big smile. But why was Molly going to Greenfield Farm in such a hurry? Come on, Jane's hurt her arm and she needs help at the cafe, said Molly. In no time at all, Molly and Tec were on their way to Greenfield Farm. Tec had never been to Greenfield Farm before, but he had heard Katie talking about the donkeys, the goats, and rabbits, and pheasants, and what was the name of the strange bird again?
Here we are! We've arrived! Beep beep!
Tec sounded his horn. When they got to the farmyard, Molly went straight to work. She picked up a bowl full of eggs that had been left on the ledge. But oh no! The bowl slipped from her hands and all the eggs smashed to bits on the ground. Oh dear, what a waste! Exclaimed Molly.
Don't worry, I'll go and find some more eggs,
said Tec. Oh, thanks, Tec, said Molly. But don't be long, will you?
I won't,
said the little red tractor, and he hurried across the farmyard. But he hadn't gone very far when he suddenly stopped. He had no idea where he was going. Whose eggs was he supposed to be collecting? Duck's eggs? Hen's eggs? Cockatoo's eggs? Parrot's eggs? Oh well, he'd just have to decide for himself. Molly was getting on very well in the cafe. What can I get you? She asked the man by the window. 2 fried eggs, please, said the man pleasantly. Oh dear, thought Molly, where is Tec with those eggs?
The eggs, oh dear,
said Tec as he drove on. When he saw some donkeys in the field, he sped over to them and said,
Hello, I'm Tec the little red tractor.
Yes, said Desmond the donkey.
Well, have you got any eggs?
Eggs?
Laughed Beryl.
Of course not. We're not able to lay eggs,
She said.
Oh no,
Said Tec. That's right, we can't, agreed Desmond. Birds lay eggs, said Beryl. And reptiles, said Desmond, knowingly.
where are they?
Asked Tec. Snakes, crocodiles, oh, and frogs, they lay eggs too, said Desmond. Desmond the donkey was quite a know-all.
All right,
Said Tec, and he drove off. Ducks, donkeys, pigs, and goats scalloping gaskets. When was he going to find some hens and eggs? There you are, cheese on toast and a cup of tea, said Molly to one customer. But the other was still waiting and looking at his watch. I'm so sorry for the delay. Where were those eggs? Then, as he passed the sheds, he saw the hens pecking and scratching. He had found them. "Excuse me," said Tec.
Wriggling worms, what do you want?
Asked the rooster. "The cafe needs eggs in a hurry. Have you laid any this morning?"
Of course we have.
They all clucked. "Just tell me where they are and I'll collect them." But the hens weren't taking much notice of Tec. They were too busy scratching for food. "Oh, please, please, tell me where the eggs are."
Hey, Sonny, there's no point in you wasting your breath on them.
Snorted the pig.
They won't tell you anything, a bunch of snotty hens, that lot. Had their beaks in the air since they arrived here, if you understand my meaning.
"Do you know where the eggs are?" asked Tec.
Not me.
"Galloping gaskets," sighed Tec before driving away impatiently. But what was he to do? They were still waiting in the cafe for the eggs. "Any moment now, he's on his way, honestly," said Molly. But the man didn't look at all happy.
Ha-ha! Look at him, sulking, spitting feathers. Ha 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 ha!
Jeered Cathy Cockatoo.
Spitting feathers?
Asked Tec. Certainly not. The hens may not have been very helpful, but he hadn't eaten any of them and ended up with feathers in his mouth.
Ha-ha! Yes! Spitting feathers! It means you're cross, you're sulking because you haven't found any eggs.
But I've looked everywhere.
Ha-ha! Ha-ha! I know where they are.
Where?
Asked Tec.
Not telling. Ha-ha!
Laughed Cathy Cockatoo.
Oh, please.
Yes, go on, tell him, said Fanny Pheasant.
Yes, all right, I'll tell. They're in the pond, there!
Said Cathy. In the pond? Asked Tec. What a strange place to lay eggs. He had never heard of a hen laying eggs in a pond before.
There are 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. A bucketful, a whole bucketful.
Chortled Cathy.
But how will I get them out?
Ask the carpenter. He'll help you.
Said Cathy.
Okay,
Said Tec happily and set off straight away. He hadn't a moment to lose. As luck would have it, the workshop door was open and the carpenter came out as Tec arrived.
can you help me get the eggs out of the pond?
Asked Tec. I certainly can, answered the carpenter.
I'm really in a bit of a hurry, you see,
Said Tec breathlessly. The carpenter searched around for the eggs.
Are there any there?
Asked Tec. Yes, answered the carpenter. Here. The carpenter rolled up his sleeves, got down on his knees, and reached into the pond.
What's he doing? I can't see,
said Tec. Then the carpenter straightened up, holding a tub with a tightly shut lid.
Oh, thank you so much,
said Tec, and off he went. Remember to drive carefully now, said the carpenter.
Thanks,
shouted Tec. Bye, said the carpenter. And at last, Tec drove to the cafe with the eggs safely in the tub on his seat. But as Tec was about to arrive, the customer was leaving. Wait, said Molly, here come the eggs. They've arrived, straight from the nest, completely fresh. And the man paused. Eggs! Eggs? Those are frogs' eggs, squeaked the man before bustling off to his car. Oh, Tec, exclaimed Molly. I wanted hen's eggs, not frogs' eggs.
that catty cockatoo!
Roared Tec. But Cathy Cockatoo could be heard laughing from afar. Wicked old bird. It was a beautiful day at Family Farm, and the sheep and cattle were grazing happily in the fields. But what was Roy going to do today?
Good morning, everyone.
Tec hooted his horn as he drove out of the machine shed and across the farmyard. But as he was passing the tool shed, he heard a hammering noise. So he poked his nose in to see what was going on.
What are you making, Roy?
Asked Tec. But Roy didn't answer him. He just walked out with a huge piece of wood in his hands. Well, what do you think of that, Tec? Asked Roy.
A straight plank. What is it for?
A sign, with a bull on it, of course, said Roy.
Oh, yes, a notice to tell people to keep out of the field where Benji the bull is grazing.
Very good, Tec. So it's clear enough for people to understand, is it?
Oh, yes, completely clear,
agreed Tec. Will you and Tommy come and help me put it up? Asked Roy.
Of course we will,
said Tec, and he drove across the farmyard to the machine shed to fetch Tommy the trailer.
Tommy, do you want to come out with Roy and me?
For a ride? Asked Tommy lazily.
No, to place a sign in the field.
I really don't feel like it right now. No, thank you. I think I'll just stay here. But before Tommy could make any more excuses, Tec had hooked him up and hauled him out of the machine shed. Mallet and hammer. That's all I need now, said Roy.
Don't forget the sign, Roy,
shouted Tec. I thought I'd forgotten something. Thanks, Tec. A sign? Asked Tommy.
Yes, and notice to warn people so that they don't go into Benji the bull's field,
said Tec as he pulled Tommy the trailer behind him.
Benji the bull! Tommy shuddered. I don't want to go into the field where Benji the bull is, and you shouldn't go there either, Tec. You should know that bulls go mad when they see red, and Benji will be very angry when he sees you.
But Benji the bull isn't in the field yet,
said Tec.
Do you want to place the notice here, Roy?
asked Tec. No, I think I'll put it next to that gate over there, said Roy, and he walked across the field to the gate.
I'm not going over there, shouted Tommy the trailer. I'm not going into any field where there's a bull, and Benji the bull is very dangerous.
How many times do you have to be told? Benji the bull isn't in the field yet.
Oh, so where is he?
In the far field with the cows,
said Tec.
Phew. Thank goodness for that,
said Tommy the trailer. Come on, Roy called to the two.
Coming straight away,
said Tec, driving across the field after him. There we are. It's very clear to everyone, isn't it? said Roy.
It is,
said Tec.
I'd only need one look at that,
said Tommy the trailer,
and I'd have run away as quickly as possible. Really, I would.
And after Roy had made certain that the gate was properly shut, the three went back across the field to fetch the cows.
Have they gone into the field?
asked Tommy the trailer.
Yes, they have,
said Tec.
Well, thank goodness for that,
said Tommy the trailer.
I certainly wouldn't like to come face to face with Benji the bull. No way.
And the three of them watched the bull and his family grazing in the field. Cattle and sheep were not the only things to be seen on the fields of Family Farm today. Over on one of the further fields was a small purple tent. And yes, there was someone inside it. Ah, what a beautiful day, said Hitch, stretching out his arms wide and hitting Hike on the nose. Ouch! Yelled Hike. Roy was about to go back for his dinner when Tec inquired,
Could we go for a walk in the fields, Roy?
Yes, of course you can, but be sure not to go near Benji the bull's field, said Roy.
Oh, don't worry, we won't go anywhere near that field. Tommy the trailer is too afraid.
And they both drove across the farmyard.
Where would you like to go first?
asked Tec.
To see Tom Jack,
said Tommy the trailer excitedly. So Tec hauled Tommy behind him, and it was strange. But Tommy the trailer was much easier to pull when he was going where he wanted to go.
Hello, Tec,
said Nell very quietly.
What's up, Nell? Why are you whispering?
Asked Tec.
Has he gone yet?
Asked Nell.
Who?
Asked Tec.
Quack, quack. Well, that big bull, of course. Quack, quack.
Quacked Tom Jack.
Quack, quack. He was so big, he threw a giant shadow across the place as he passed, and quack, quack.
Well, you don't need to worry anymore,
said Tec.
Benji is safe in his field.
Oh, good. Ruff, ruff.
Barked Nell. And Tec and Tommy went on their way across the field. After lunch, Hitch and Hike decided to go for a walk.
Wait for me!
Shouted Hike.
Yak! Ugh.
By now, Tec was a little out of breath, as he had pulled the trailer all over the field. But who should pass by at that minute but Hitch and Hike?
Ah, hello, Tommy,
Said Hitch to Tec.
Ah, hello, Tec.
Said Hike to Tommy.
No, I'm Tec.
And I'm Tommy.
Ah, yes, of course.
Said Hitch and Hike.
Ah, well, goodbye to you both. We need to go this way. Come on, Hike, said Hitch. The gate's over there.
And off they went.
Galloping gaskets, they're going to Benji the bull's field,
Shouted Tec, and the little tractor and trailer hurried after them.
No!
They shouted.
Don't go into that field.
But even though Tommy shouted as loudly as possible, and Tec hooted his horn as well, neither Hike nor Hitch heard them. They were too busy talking, and they both climbed over the gate. And then they both started to walk across the field.
Oh, what shall we do?
Asked Tec in horror.
They've gone into Benji's field.
And Hitch has a bright red coat.
Said Tommy. But it didn't matter what colour Hitch and Hike's clothes were. Benji the bull did not like to see anyone in his field.
Quick, we'd better go and tell Roy,
Said Tec, and off they drove like the wind back to the farmyard.
Oh, look, said Hitch. There's a buffalo over there.
No. That's not a buffalo. That's a bull. The two screamed and ran as fast as their legs would carry them back to the gate.
Roy, beep, beep,
Called Tec and Tommy.
Dear me, whatever is the matter?
Asked Roy, coming out to meet them.
Hitch and Hike, they've gone into Benji the bull's field.
But before Roy had a chance to do anything, Hitch and Hike rushed past.
Bull!
Bull!
You shouldn't have gone into the field. Didn't you see the sign?
Asked Roy crossly, shaking his head in despair.
What sign? What sign?
Asked Hitch and Hike.
What sign indeed? Beep, beep.
Tec hooted his horn loudly and began to drive after the walkers.
Tec!
Called Roy. But it was too late because Tec had driven hitch and hike all the way from Family Farm, hooting his horn loudly as he went after them. And they would not be allowed back until they had learned to read notices and obey them.
It was nearly springtime at Family Farm, and the leaves were starting to appear on some of the trees. Molly was busy. She had just planted an apple tree in the garden. "There we are, finished," said Molly as she looked admiringly at the young tree. The tree had been planted, and all Molly had to do now was to look forward to springtime, when the sap would rise, the leaves would grow, and the flowers would bud and open in the summer, and then turn into apples, and the apples would ripen, and they would be picked next autumn. Malcolm, the farm helper, was outside in the farmyard, looking for something.
"Ah, there it is, thank goodness," said Malcolm when he saw the spade resting against the wall.
But he needed something else, and he disappeared into the tool shed. "That's odd. I'm almost certain that I left it here," he said.
When suddenly Tec hooted his horn.
Beep, beep! Are you ready, Malcolm?
Oh! Malcolm struck his head against the shelf. And there was a terrible noise coming from the shed. Noises of pots of paint and tools and nails, all falling as Malcolm shouted and moaned. "Oh, my poor head," he sighed as he rubbed it.
Are you all right there, Malcolm?
asked Tec and Tommy, trying hard not to laugh.
"Oh, you bad boys, frightening me like that," said Malcolm.
But he had managed to find the tool he was looking for.
What's that?
asked Tec.
"You'll find out in a minute when we've fetched the thorn bushes," said Malcolm. "Come on."
Thorn bushes? Why do we have to carry the prickly stuff all the time?
Complained Tommy the trailer.
Barbed wire, gorse bushes, and now hawthorns. What next?
But they're only young trees. They won't have prickly thorns on them. You just wait and see.
"These are bushes," said Malcolm, as he placed all of them in Tommy the trailer.
They sting! It hurts!
Tommy danced from one wheel to the next. But Tec and Malcolm took no notice of him, and Tec didn't slow down until he reached the field where the hawthorn bushes were to be planted.
"Here we are," said Malcolm. "This is where we want to plant the bushes. When they grow, the animals will be able to shelter beneath them."
And the birds will be able to nest in them,
said Tec.
"Of course they will," said Malcolm, "and they'll eat the berries that will grow on them."
Hawthorn bushes would be good for everybody.
Malcolm began to plant the bushes immediately. So that strange tool that Malcolm had was specially for planting bushes.
There we are, one bush planted, said Malcolm.
But they needed to plant a whole hedge. Molly was in the garden raking up the leaves which had blown all over the lawn and into the gutter. Who would think that there were so many leaves? Sighed Molly. And as she bent and straightened, she suddenly felt a pain in her back. Oh, botheration, she said. Poor Molly. She went into the house to have a rest. Oh, my back, complained Malcolm out in the field.
Tommy the trailer moaned, "How many more are left?" every other minute.
But Tec's wheel was still working busily.
Oh, stop complaining, Tommy. We've got lots of planting to do yet,
said Tec. Oh, dear, I'd better sit down, said Molly, rubbing her back. But when Molly sat down in the chair, the leg broke and Molly landed on the floor like a sack of potatoes. Oh, Out in the field, Tommy the trailer complained that the thorns were pricking his tummy. But Tec was helping Malcolm so that they could finish early. And indeed, they had almost finished planting all the bushes.
"Only one to go," said Malcolm.
"Thank goodness for that," said Tommy the trailer. And after Tec had pressed down the earth with his wheel, the three of them stood back to admire their handiwork. But as they were about to go back to the farmyard, Tec heard a buzzing noise, like a loud wasp. "Shh! What's that noise?" he asked, and everyone listened carefully.
"Oh, that's someone cutting wood in the forest," said Malcolm.
"Cutting wood?" Tec was excited.
"Yes, would you like to go and watch?" asked Malcolm.
"Oh, yes, please," said Tec eagerly.
"I don't want to go, I want to stay here,"
said Tommy the trailer.
"Oh, we won't be long,"
said Malcolm, and off they both went across the fields to the forest.
Towering treetops! These are huge trees,
said Tec as he looked up at the great tall trees.
"Yes, they're very tall," agreed Malcolm.
All the trees lose their leaves in winter, don't they?
said Tec.
"No, not everyone," said Malcolm.
And he explained that evergreen trees and trees with pine needles kept their leaves all year round, while other trees lost all their leaves.
"Oh, I see,"
said Tec, showing great interest. Then he jumped.
Oh, I think I've been stung by a pine needle,
he squealed.
"Come on," said Malcolm.
And they both went along the forest lane in the direction of the increasingly loud noise of the chainsaws. At last, Malcolm and Tec saw the woodcutters. and they were both busy cutting wood with a chainsaw.
There are your buzzing wasps, said Malcolm.
But why are they cutting wood? Tec didn't understand. But Malcolm explained that wood was needed to make fencing posts, gates, furniture, paper, and many other things.
And little trailers like Tommy?
Said Tec. Yes, and little trailers like Tommy. But Tec had loads of questions to ask Malcolm. He wanted to know why the woodcutter wore a helmet with a glass mask over his face. But Malcolm couldn't hear. There was too much noise. And when the chainsaw stopped, the woodcutter shouted, "Timber!"
Towering treetops!
Tec was frightened. The woodcutter's next job was to cut the branches. But their job wasn't just to cut the trees down. They had to plant trees as well. One of the woodcutters picked up a young tree and the other dug a hole in the ground. Into the hole it went, and there a new tree had been planted. Well, Tec, you've learned a lot about planting trees today.
Yes, I have,
said Tec happily. Thanks for letting us watch, said Malcolm as he shook hands with the two woodcutters. Then Tec and Malcolm went home. But where was Molly? And was her back better? Well, one thing was certain, the chair wasn't better. Its leg was broken. And that's why Molly had gone to see the carpenter in his workshop. What an interesting place. There were tools of all shapes and sizes to measure, cut and shape wood into all kinds of beautiful and useful things. "How are you?" said Molly. "Hello, Molly." "Do you think you can mend it?" asked Molly. I don't think so," said the carpenter. "But this rocking chair over here is very comfortable," said the carpenter. "Try it." "Oh, thank you very much." And Molly sat down. She rocked lazily, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. "Oh, yes, this chair is very comfortable," said Molly. "Very comfortable indeed." In fact, it was so comfortable that Molly almost fell asleep. "Oh dear!" Molly jumped to her feet. Yes, I'll take it." And the carpenter carried the new chair to the car. And after arriving back in the field and hooking up to Tommy the trailer, Tec drove back to the farmyard and to the machine shed. "Good night, Malcolm," said Tec and Tommy. "Good night, Tec and Tommy," said Malcolm. And when Malcolm got into the house, he was very glad to sit down. "Fire and flames!" exclaimed Malcolm. Where had the rocking chair come from? He hadn't noticed it before. Well, this is a very comfortable chair. And he began to rock backwards and forwards, very lazily. And when Molly came into the kitchen, there was Malcolm, fast asleep in the rocking chair. It was autumn once more. The leaves had fallen from the trees, and the days were getting shorter. Someone at Family Farm had been very busy indeed, gathering firewood, old tires, and plastic bags. Katie was the one who had been working hard, and she was very lucky that she had two friends who were very ready to help her. Tommy the trailer was full to overflowing with old sticks, boxes, and rubbish of all kinds. "Galloping gaskets! Come on, Tommy!" shouted Tec as he hauled as best he could.
I'm tired. I've had enough of carting all this rubbish about,
moaned Tommy. "But this is the last load," said Tec. "Now, come on!" And he pulled Tommy along, still protesting. But why were they carrying all that rubbish? What on earth were they going to do with it? Katie threw everything that was in the trailer on top of the bonfire.
Finished at last. Thank goodness for that,
sighed Tommy the trailer happily. But Katie was very quiet. "What's wrong, Katie?" asked Tec. "The bonfire isn't big enough," she said sadly. "We need more things to burn." But where would they find more wood and rubbish? There was none left at Family Farm. "I know, Katie. There are plenty of old tires near the silage pit. I'll go and fetch them," said Tec. But Katie shook her head. The tires were very heavy, and anyway, it would be night before long. Then they heard Molly calling, "Katie, time to come in. It'll be dark before long." And off went Katie. "Thanks, Tec. Thanks, Tommy. I'll see you tomorrow," said Katie. "Good night."
Good night.
Good night, Katie.
Good night, Katie.
"Come on, we'd better get back to the machine shed too," said Tec, as it got darker and darker, and off they went all the way back to the shed. "Good night, Tommy."
Good night, Tec.
And the two little machines slept until it was morning.
Cock-a-doodle-doo, get up!
Sang Kang the cockerel, waking everyone on the farm. But things were already moving in the machine shed. Someone was quarrelling.
No, I'm not coming with you,
said Tommy the trailer. "But you must," said Tec. "We've got to go and look for more things to put on the bonfire."
Oh, no, not again,
complained Tommy. But what were they going to put on the bonfire? They'd collected every little bit of rubbish yesterday. "I know," said Tec. "Why don't you go and ask Roy if he's got something to burn?" And off they went. And who should arrive at that moment but Molly? And before she could even say hello, Tec had asked her, "Do you have anything we can put on the bonfire, Molly?" "Oh, no, I don't think so." But Molly was very interested in the bonfire, and she went with Tec and Tommy to look at it. "Well, what do you think of it, Molly?" asked Tec. "Oh dear," said Molly. "What's wrong?" asked Tec. The tires and the plastic buckets on the bonfire, said Molly. You're not supposed to burn those. They poison the air.
Galloping gaskets, but nobody told us that,
said Tec. And then Roy came along. Just look at what's on the bonfire, said Molly. Oh dear, said Roy. I'd better take these to the rubbish dump to be buried. And he grabbed a tire from the bonfire while Molly collected the plastic bucket. But after they had gathered all the plastic buckets, bags and tires, there wasn't much left of the bonfire. It looked very, very small indeed.
Galloping gaskets, the bonfire is even smaller now,
said Tec. Yes, it is, agreed Molly. It'll be big enough, said Roy. But what would Bob next door have to say about it? He had just arrived in his big tractor.
Hello, everyone,
said Bob. What do you think of the bonfire? Asked Roy.
That's why I've called by. I was cleaning out an old storeroom this morning and I've got a trailer full of old wood and planks that need burning.
A whole trailer full? Tec opened his eyes wide.
Yes, and it's a big trailer too. Much bigger than you are, Tommy,
said Bob.
Well, yes,
said Tommy, offended.
I haven't finished growing yet.
Then you'll have to eat more, Tommy.
Suffering sparklers, Katie will be pleased,
said Tec. And when Katie and her friend Janet came home from school, they leapt out of the car and ran to look at the bonfire. Oh, what a splendid bonfire, said Janet. It's ginormous, said Katie. And they both rushed off to the house to help Molly get things ready. After it had got really dark, everyone gathered to see the fireworks. When do we set off the fireworks, Molly? Asked Tec. Oh, in a minute, Tec, after Bob has arrived, said Molly. At last, Bob came.
Hello, everyone,
he said happily.
Hello, Bob,
everyone replied. Roy lit the bonfire. Before long, the wood was crackling and the bonfire was soon blazing away merrily.
are you going to light the fireworks now?
Asked Tec. We'll do that as soon as everyone's finished eating, said Molly. And while everyone was eating, Tec went off to fetch Tommy the trailer in case he missed the fireworks.
Tec, is that you? What are you doing out all by yourself? Aren't you afraid?
Mooed Claire the cow.
Of course not. I've got lights,
said Tec.
But it's bonfire night, remember?
Said Claire the cow.
All the animals are safely inside and I'll be going to after I've finished my supper. Don't you think you'd better go to the machine shed now?
As he went on his way, Tec wondered what was wrong with the animals. Why didn't they like the fireworks and bonfire night? As they drove out of the machine shed, Tec and Tommy were looking forward to seeing the fireworks. But that very second, there was a loud scream and a big bang, and the sky lit up all over.
Suffering sparklers!
Tec got the fright of his life.
What was that, Tec?
Asked Tommy the trailer, his voice shaking. But before Tec could reply, there was another bang and an explosion.
Oh my goodness! What's happening, Tec?
Don't be scared, Tommy. It's only lightning.
But the lightning didn't stop.
There must be a huge storm somewhere, and I don't like storms,
said Tommy the trailer.
I want to go back to the machine shed.
And after sending Tommy back to the machine shed, Tec remembered the people who were watching the fireworks. They had better go and look for a safe place to shelter from the lightning as well. So without delay, he drove over there. But when he arrived at the field, no one was afraid at all. Everyone was laughing and looking up into the sky. And at that very minute, some fireworks shot into the sky and exploded into thousands and thousands of little stars.
Galloping caskets! What's that?
Asked Tec, staring in surprise at the strange lightning.
Fireworks, Tec!
Said Katie, who had a sparkler in her hand, and then a rocket screamed up into the air before exploding in a burst of colours. And as the bonfire flames died down, everyone was given a sparkler to hold. Very carefully, of course. Tec watched them sparkling, sending stars into the dark night. Night was falling at Family Farm, and everyone was getting ready for bed. Good night, Tec. Good night, Tommy the trailer, said Roy tiredly, opening his mouth in a huge yawn.
Good night, Roy,
replied Tec and Tommy the trailer.
Good night, Tommy the trailer,
said Tec.
Good night, Tec. Good night, Sam,
said Tommy the trailer.
Good night, Sam. Galloping gaskets,
shouted Tec.
We've forgotten to fetch Sam the scarecrow from the furthest field. Sam! Sam!
called Tec frantically as he searched every nook and cranny for him. But Sam wasn't there. He was standing all alone in the middle of the furthest field, waiting for Tec and Tommy the trailer to come and fetch him.
Exactly how long was he supposed to stay in the furthest field?
Asked Tommy the trailer.
3 days, that's what he told me, and then he asked me to come for him today,
said Tec.
What'll we do now then?
Asked Tommy the trailer.
We'll just have to go and get him, won't we?
I suppose so, but it's too late now. It's dark already.
Tommy the trailer swallowed nervously.
But I have headlamps that will let me see in the dark,
said Tec, flashing his lights. And before Tommy the trailer had time to think up another excuse, Tec had hooked him up and was speeding out of the shed.
Galloping gaskets! It's as dark as a coal mine. I can't see anything.
Tec was scared.
Oh, my little lamps!
Wailed Tec.
Tec, are you all right? Asked Tommy the trailer nervously. Oh, yes, I think so, said Tec. But only one headlight is working now. Come on, let's go back to the machine shed, said Tommy the trailer.
No, wait a minute. I can see much better now,
said Tec. Are you sure? But Tommy the trailer didn't have much time to argue. Tec pulled him forward once more.
I'm fine. Don't worry, Tommy. I know this farmyard like the back of my hand,
boasted Tec before he drove straight out onto the road. Suddenly, Tec slowed down.
What's wrong? Why are you slowing down? Asked Tommy the trailer.
The pond has moved,
said Tec. The pond moved? What pond? Where has it gone to? Asked Tommy the trailer.
The duck pond, of course. It should be here, in this corner.
Oh, yes, it should be, agreed Tommy the trailer.
But ponds can't move, so what has happened to it?
Asked Tec. Has someone pulled the plug and let the water out? Said Tommy the trailer. Or perhaps had Tec and Tommy the trailer made a mistake and were in the wrong field?
Galloping gaskets, this is not the pond field,
shouted Tec. What? Exclaimed Tommy the trailer in surprise.
We're in the wrong field. This is the flat field, not the puddle field.
And they drove carefully through the gate.
Can you see Sam the Scarecrow anywhere? Asked Tommy the trailer.
No, I can't see him anywhere at all,
said Tec. Perhaps we better go back and fetch Roy, said Tommy the trailer fearfully.
But we can't turn back now, not when we've reached the furthest field,
said Tec. And he called out,
Sam! Sam! That's him! He's here! Did you hear him?
Asked Tec. Yes, I heard him, said Tommy the trailer happily.
Come on, over here,
said Tec, and they both drove off in the direction of the voice. Are you sure this is the right way, Tec? I can't remember coming this way when we came out to see him before. Do you think you'd better give him another shout just to make sure?
Oh, all right,
said Tec, and he hooted his horn and called out to Sam once more.
Beep, beep, Sam!
And the very same noise came back to them.
Beep, beep, Sam!
What was Sam doing? Was he playing games with them?
Ask him if he can see us, said Tommy the trailer.
Beep, beep, can you see us?
Asked Tec.
Beep, beep, can you see us?
Said Sam in a voice that sounded exactly like Tec. But why was Sam repeating everything they said?
Galloping gaskets,
exclaimed Tec. When Roy went out to the machine shed to make sure that the machines were safe and cosy for the night, he got the fright of his life. Tec and Tommy the trailer were nowhere to be seen. Goodness, where on earth had they gone? Perhaps the naughty little imps had sneaked out to the hayshed to see Sam the Scarecrow and to hear about his holiday. Roy had fetched Sam from the field immediately after tea and had taken him to rest against the bales in the hayshed. Sam, asked Roy, have you seen Tec and Tommy the trailer around the place?
No,
said Sam calmly.
but it's strange because Tec promised that he and Tommy the trailer would come and fetch me from the furthest field before supper. But you fetched me instead, didn't you, Roy?
Oh, my goodness, they must have gone to the furthest field, said Roy, as he jumped onto Mike the motorbike and shot off to the field.
Galloping gaskets, what's going on?
Asked Tec loudly.
Galloping gaskets, what's going on?
Said Sam, mimicking him once again.
Sam, don't repeat everything we say,
Said Tommy crossly.
Sam, don't repeat everything we say.
Said Sam crossly.
Sam!
Roared Tec.
Look, that's enough of your nonsense.
Said Tommy the trailer.
Look, that's enough of your nonsense.
Said Sam.
Do you think he's ill?
Whispered Tec.
Well, there's something wrong,
Agreed Tommy the trailer.
I've never seen him behave like this before.
Me neither.
Said Tec.
Perhaps we'd better fetch the doctor.
Good idea.
Said Tommy the trailer.
Sam! Tommy and I are going to fetch the doctor!
Shouted Tec.
Sam! Tommy and I are going to fetch the doctor!
Shouted Sam.
This is serious. We'd better go back and get Roy at once.
Whispered Tommy the trailer.
Good idea.
Whispered Tec. And off they went. But as they were looking for a way out of the field, they heard the noise of an approaching motorbike.
Mike! That's Mike!
Said Tec happily. And who should emerge from the darkness but Mike the motorbike with Roy on his back?
Roy! Roy! Over here! Over here!
Called Tec.
Roy, thank goodness you've arrived!
Said Tec.
Yes, indeed.
Said Tommy the trailer.
Sam the Scarecrow is seriously ill.
Sam ill? Asked Roy in surprise.
Yes, he's confused, and he repeats everything we say.
Hold on a second now, said Roy. I don't quite understand what you're saying.
Sam, he repeats everything, every single word we say. Listen. Sam, are you there?
Called Tec. All three listened intently, but they heard nothing. Sam didn't utter a word. Oh, perhaps he can't quite hear you from here, said Roy. But if you go back to where you were before... So they all went back to where they had been in the field. Now then, try again. I'm sure he'll be able to hear you this time, said Roy. And Tec called out to Sam once again.
Sam, are you there?
And Sam replied,
Sam, are you there?
There you are, Roy. Did you hear that?
asked Tommy the trailer.
What do you think has happened to him, Roy?
Asked Tec. But Roy didn't reply. He was rolling about with laughter.
What's the matter, Roy?
The two asked in surprise. Oh dear, said Roy. How can I explain? Sam isn't ill. To tell the truth, he's not even in this field.
Huh?
So, who is repeating everything we say then?
Asked Tec. No one, said Roy. It's an echo, throwing your own voices back to you.
Echo?
Asked Tommy the trailer.
Echo?
Asked Tec. Yes, just listen, said Roy. Then he shouted out, Hello! 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 Hello!
Echo?
Exclaimed Tec.
Echo?
Called back the echo.
Echo! Echo!
Yelled Tommy the trailer.
Echo! Echo!
Shouted the echo.
Can you shine your lights on the echo so that we can see it, Roy?
Asked Tec. But Roy shook his head. No, no one can see an echo. They can only hear it.
So where was Sam the Scarecrow then?
Oh, said Roy, I forgot to tell you. I took him back to the hay shed after tea.
Galloping gaskets. You do need a lot of patience sometimes.
Sighed Tec.
Galloping gaskets. You do need a
lot of patience sometimes,
said the echo, and the three of them started laughing happily. The summer sun was very hot at Family Farm, and there were many insects buzzing about, stinging and annoying people. One was about to land on Tec. When he hooted his horn very loudly. Beep! Go away! Then it landed on Tommy the trailer.
Get off me, you pest!
And the bluebottle flew away as fast as it could.
Quack! Giants and jelly babies! What's the matter, Tec?
Asked Cluck. A big bluebottle was going to bite me, said Tec.
Where is it? I'll gobble it up.
Said Cluck. But it was too late. The bluebottle had escaped and was going to bite someone else. Buzzed the bluebottle once more. Shouted Tec, and off he went after it, hooting his horn threateningly. Come here, you meddling bluebottle! Yelled Tec. And then the bluebottle landed on the edge of the dipping pool. Hee 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 hee! Now come and catch me if you can! Hee hee! Buzzed the bluebottle teasingly. But thank goodness, Tec pulled up immediately. He knew very well that he wasn't to go anywhere near the dipping pool. Blistering bluebottles! It's deep! Very deep! Startled, Tec backed away at once. Tec, what are you doing here? Asked a rather cross voice from behind him. Tec was startled again. I was chasing that old bluebottle, said Tec. Don't you ever go near that dipping pool again, Tec. It's very dangerous, said Roy. Yes, I know, said Tec. And I promise not to go near it ever again. Within seconds, the bluebottle was buzzing around Colin. Oh no, it's got away again, said Tec, as he chased after it. Bzzz, can't catch me, can't catch me. The bluebottle flew across the farmyard to the house. Hee hee hee, can't catch me, buzzed the bluebottle. Blistering bluebottles! It's gone into the house to bite Molly! Molly had just finished washing her hair and had wrapped a clean towel around her head. Ouch! Squealed Molly. That annoying bluebottle had bitten her. Out you go! Shouted Molly, trying to swat it. The bluebottle flew out the window. That's the trouble with hot weather, fumed Molly. The bluebottles bite and sting everyone. There he is! Yelled Tec. Hee hee hee, bzz, can't catch me, laughed the bluebottle as he buzzed noisily around Tec's head. In fact, the bluebottle was so cheeky that he landed on Tec's nose. Hey, look where I've landed. I'll soon put a stop to your tricks. Just you wait and see. and off he went after the naughty bluebottle.
Quack, quack. Oh dear, Tec, you're not still chasing after that silly old bluebottle, are you?
Cackled Cluck,
Yes, I am.
said Tec determinedly.
He's annoying and biting everyone.
Then he asked,
You wouldn't like to eat him, would you, Nancy?
No, not just now, Tec. I'm far too busy washing.
Washing? But you need water to wash.
said Tec.
Oh, no, we don't. We don't like water, do we, girls?
Laughed Nancy.
We use our beaks to wash ourselves and keep our feathers clean, don't we, girls? Oh, yes.
Cackled the hens in agreement. So thought Tec, who were Colin and Roy going to wash in the dipping pool? Puzzled, Tec drove on. Who on family farm, he wondered, most needed a bath?
I know.
He said, and off he went to talk to Hog the pig.
Beep, beep, Hog.
Hooted Tec on his horn.
Have you brought me anything to eat?
Grunted Hog hungrily.
No, I haven't. But would you like to have a bath?
Bath. Where?
In the big dipping pool that Roy's got in the farmyard,
said Tec.
Muck and maggots, no, indeed. I'm too fat. I'd probably get stuck in it.
But don't the blue bottles annoy you?
Asked Tec.
Oh, yes, of course they do, but my skin is too thick, so they can't sting me. And since I have no fur or wool, they can't lay their eggs on me, you see?
Fur and wool?
Yes, it's probably someone who has fur or wool that Roy will be dipping in the pool.
Fur and wool,
said Tec thoughtfully. I know. And off we went to the garden.
Hello, Rachel Rabbit. Are you going to have a bath in the dipping pool?
Asked Tec.
Bath? Crimpling carrots. No, I'm not. I don't need a bath. I lick my coat clean every day.
Slithery soap suds,
sighed Tec. Who on earth was going to be washed in the big dipping pool then? And when Tec asked Keris the cow if she was going to have a bath, she laughed all over the place.
Goodness me, Tec, you do have some funny ideas. I'm far too big for that trough. The water wouldn't come up to my knees.
But how do you wash then and keep the blue bottles away?
Asked Tec.
Well, I lick my nose and coat, and when I see the blue bottles, I swish them away with my tail.
So, who is going to have a bath in the big dipping pool?
Asked Tec.
The sheep, I would think, mooed
Keris.
The sheep? But of course! Now, why didn't I think of them?
Sheep have the heaviest and thickest coats of any animal on the farm, and the warm wool was just perfect for flies to lay their eggs in. And when Tec arrived at the farmyard, the sheep were in the pen, all ready to be dipped in the pool.
The sooner we go into that pool, the better,
bleated Sheila.
You're telling me these flies are driving me crazy, bad Sybil.
Is the water warm?
Asked Tec.
I hope so indeed.
began to put the sheep into the pool.
Slithery subsuds, what a wave!
Said Tec. Colin and Roy wore special clothes that kept them dry and protected them from the dangerous sheep dip, which could burn their skin. And after they'd been bathed, the sheep climbed out of the trough one by one. Colin and Roy were busy bathing every single sheep. Then Tec heard a buzzing noise.
Hee hee hee. Zzz. Who wants to be stung?
Slithery subsuds, that old blue bottle again!
Move, Tec. It's going to bite you.
Warned Sybil.
Get off, go away! Shoo, shoo, beep, beep!
Hooted Tec furiously as he drove as fast as he could to the house. What's the matter, Tec? Asked Molly.
That blue bottle is going to bite me!
Complained Tec. Just you wait, said Molly, as she swatted at the blue bottle with Roy's shirt. But it disappeared. Then Molly had an idea. It's the mud on you that's attracting him. Would you like me to wash you clean with soap and water? Perhaps they will leave you alone then.
What a good idea!
Agreed Tec. Molly went to fetch a bucket of water, made some nice soapy bubbles, and then, using a soft sponge, she washed Tec clean until he sparkled and shone like a brand new tractor. But just as Molly was about to finish washing Tec, they heard the familiar buzz of the nasty old blue bottle.
Hee 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 hee. Zzz. I'll sting you.
But the blue bottle flew too close to the edge of the bucket and, plop, he fell in. And that was the end of the nasty blue bottle. It was a beautiful June day at Family Farm. The sun-dried hay on the field filled the air with a scent as sweet as honey. But what was the big red tractor and the haymaker doing today? Tec wondered.
Sweet honeysuckle, they're turning the hay!
Tec was excited. and he went to tell Katy.
Out of the way, everybody! Out of the way!
Shouted Tec as he drove across the farmyard. When he arrived at the garden, Katy was waiting for him.
We have to toss the hay, Katy,
said Tec. Oh, great! Katy jumped and began to throw the hay in the air. But why were they making hay in the garden? Molly had mowed the lawn some days ago, and instead of throwing the cuttings on the compost, Katy and Tec had asked her to leave them on the lawn so that they could make hay. They wanted to make hay in the garden just as Roy made hay in the fields. No, no, said Molly, you don't turn hay like that. You must use a rake and do it like this. And Molly showed them how farmers used to toss the hay in the old days. But why do you have to toss the hay? Asked Katy. So that all of it dries in the sun, said Molly. Katy went to fetch a small rake and started to help her mother. But after she'd finished tossing the hay, Katy asked, "What are we supposed to do now?"
I know,
said Tec.
You stay here, Katy, and I'll go to the field to see what Roy is doing.
And off he went.
Beep, beep! Look out!
Yelled Tec, hooting his horn wildly.
Buzzing bluebottles, not Tec again!
Cackled the hens. Tec finally made it to the hayfield. But now the haymaker wasn't tossing the hay, but laying it out in neat rows.
Galloping gaskets! That haymaker is very clever,
said Tec. But how could he and Katy make rows of hay like that? Tec didn't know. But he started his engine and off he went through the fields again.
Goodness, what the net's the matter with Tec today? He's like a yo-yo driving back and forth between the garden and the hayfield since the break of day.
But Tec wasn't listening. He was in far too much of a hurry to go back and tell Katy what she had to do next.
Katy! Katy! Beep! Beep!
Tec hooted his horn. What are we supposed to do now? Asked Katy eagerly.
Gather it up in rows! Gather it up into rows!
Gasped Tec breathlessly. Like this? Asked Katy.
Yes, yes, exactly so, that's it.
Tec was thrilled. And Katy was an excellent maker of rows. But gathering all the hay in the garden into rows was an awful lot of work. Hold on, I'll help you now, said Molly. And they both raked the hay into neat rows. But Tec couldn't do much to help, because he didn't have the correct implement on his arms.
Galloping gaskets, this is no good. I've got nothing to do now,
said Tec disappointedly. Just wait a minute, said Molly. I know what you can do. And off she went to fetch something. Here you are, Tec, she said when she returned.
A rake! A rake just for me?
Tec was thrilled. Now then, all we have to do is place it on your hook at the back, and there we are.
Oh, great! Now I can help too!
Said Tec happily, and before anyone could tell him what to do, Tec was away, gathering the loose hay. Good for you, Tec, said Molly. Roy and the big red tractor were still making hay in the field. The baler was very efficient. It was much quicker than using a rake. Tec had soon finished his work, and after Molly had unhooked the rake, off he went back to the hayfield to see what the next step would be.
I won't be long,
said Tec as he drove out of the garden. Across the farmyard, and into the hayfield. And what a surprise he got! There was nobody there. There was no sign at all of Roy, or the tractor, or the haymaker. Only a field of newly mown hay, arranged in neat rows.
Galloping gaskets! They must have finished,
said Tec. But what were they going to do next, he wondered.
I know, said Tec. I'll go and find Bill, the little baler. He'll know what to do next.
And there was the big red tractor and Bill in the field next door, working hard, making bales. Bill raked the hay into his mouth with his sharp teeth, worked hard to shape it, and then pushed out the bale in a perfect rectangle. Tec looked in wonder at the rows of neat bales.
Bill's bales! Katie and I will never be able to turn the hay into bales,
sighed Tec sadly.
We haven't got a baler.
And he dragged himself back despondently. Across the farmyard, and back to the garden. What should we do now? Asked Katie.
Bale the hay,
said Tec.
But that's impossible because we don't have a baler.
Don't worry, Tec. Nothing is impossible, said Molly. Katie, would you please take the cups back into the house and bring me out some baling twine? Then Molly rolled the hay into a neat round ball. Katie ran back to the garden with the twine. She wound the twine around the round bale, and Molly tied it tightly. There! What do you think of that bale, then? Asked Molly proudly.
That's a beautiful bale, Molly!
Tec wriggled in delight. Yes, it is, agreed Katie. But how many bales had Bill the baler made by now? The field was dotted all over with hay bales, and Bill the baler was still churning them out. But after baling and baling and baling in the garden, And in the field, every bit of hay had been packed into tidy bales. And there was no more to do now but to carry the bales into the hayshed, where they would be safe and undamaged by rain and bad weather. In the meantime, Tec had gone to fetch Tommy the trailer, and Katie and Molly loaded the bales onto Tommy. In the hayshed, Roy was unloading the bales from the trailer and building a huge haystack.
But where do we take the bales now?
Asked Tommy the trailer. To the hayshed, of course, said Tec. Galloping gaskets. Tommy the trailer didn't half ask some daft questions sometimes, honestly. And by supper time, there were 2 tidy haystacks at Family Farm. Roy's big haystack and Tec and Katie's little one. Plenty of food for the animals to eat in the winter. It was an ordinary sort of day at Family Farm. The animals were grazing in the fields and the machines were chatting in their shed. But Tec was very quiet.
What's the matter, Tec? Cat got your tongue? Asked the spreader.
I'm tired. I didn't sleep very well last night,
said Tec.
I thought I heard someone tossing and turning in the night,
said Tommy the trailer.
Oh, what's bothering you?
Asked the spreader.
Katie's going to hospital today because she keeps on having a sore throat all the time,
said Tec sadly before he drove off to the shed, head down and eyes to the ground. But for how long would Katie be in hospital? And when would she be coming back? And what exactly was a hospital? Tec wasn't very sure about that. So on he went towards the house. And then he remembered. Katie was ill because she had something with a very long name that described the kind of sore throat that she had. A very, very long name indeed, beginning with a T. Now then, what was that word?
Galloping gaskets. It's far too long for me to remember, sighed Tec. But it didn't matter because Katy would be sure to remember. Beep, beep! Katy, where are you? Tec hooted his horn. Here I am, said Katy happily. Tec was very surprised. He had expected that Katy would be very worried. Do you have a tot? Oh, what is it called again? Asked Tec. Tonsillitis, said Katy. Yes, tonsillitis, said Tec carefully. No, I haven't. Katy was hoping that she would never have tonsillitis again because she was going to hospital to have her tonsils taken out that very day. Aren't you afraid to go to hospital, Katy? Asked Tec. Not at all, said Katy, shaking her head. She had been in hospital before, but Tec had no idea what sort of a place it was. Would you like to come with us? Asked Katy. Oh, yes, please. Tec was thrilled. Mom! Katy shouted to Molly, who was about to clean the windows. Tec wants to come to the hospital with us. Well, Tec, if you're coming with us, I'd better clean you up right now. And instead of using the water to wash the windows, Molly and Katy washed Tec. Galloping gaskets! Close your eyes, Tec, said Molly. But I had a wash yesterday. Stop it, Katy. You're tickling me. He laughed as Katy washed his wheels. And after everyone and everything had been loaded into the car, Molly, Katy and Tec started off on their journey. The hospital was quite far away from Family Farm, and the journey was long. But at last, there's the hospital, said Molly. Galloping gaskets, that's a ginormous building, said Tec. He had never seen so many windows in his life. And after parking tidily, the three of them went to look for the entrance. Are you all right, Katy? Asked Molly. Fine, Katy nodded bravely. Come on, Tec, said Katy. But where had he got to now? Oh, what a lovely scent, said Tec as he smelled the colourful flowers. Would you like to buy some flowers? Asked the man courteously. Tec! Molly was calling him. Oh, got to go. I'll call back later, said Tec. Okay, see you then. Bye. Which way now, Molly? Asked Tec. This way, she said. This place is very clean, thought Tec. There was no muck or dirt or mud on the floor, just a nice clean smell everywhere in the long tunnels that seemed to go off in every direction.
Tommy the trailer would be delighted if he were to be hauled along all these corridors, thought Tec. Hello, Katie and Molly. Welcome to the children's ward, said the nurse. Katie, you come with me to change. What a lovely place. There were paintings on the wall, and lots of toys and bright, colourful curtains and bedclothes. Right, go to sleep now. Good night, darling, said Molly. Good night, ma'am, said Katie. Good night, Tec. Good night, Katie. And in the far corner of the children's ward, Tec slowly closed his eyes. Tonsillitis! Jeff had woken early at Family Farm, but the nurses and doctors and workers at the hospital got up even earlier. To tell the truth, Tec didn't think that some of them went to bed at all. Are you ready, Katie? Asked the nurse. I am, replied Katie happily. Good luck, Katie, said Tec, hooting his horn. Beep, beep, I'll be waiting for you. And Katie disappeared off down the hall to the theatre with Molly and the nurse. But Tec had plenty to keep him occupied until Katie returned. He promised to give every single child in the ward a ride on his back. And it didn't seem long before Katie was back in her bed. Katie, whispered Tec, but Katie was fast asleep. I know what I'll do, said Tec. I'll go and buy her a bunch of flowers. I'll come with you, said Molly. And away they both went for a walk through the huge hospital. Which ones do you like? Asked Molly. These, maybe. Oh, yes, the yellow ones, please, said Tec. They're very pretty. And after paying for the flowers, Molly and Tec hurried back to the children's ward. Look who's woken up now, said the nurse. Everything all right, Katie? Asked Molly. Yes, Katie nodded. There you are, Katie. You'll feel a lot better in a day or two, and you'll never have that horrible tonsillitis again, said Molly. Because you're better, we'll give the flowers to the nurse. Thank you very much, nurse, said Katie. Oh, thank you, Katie. Yes, thank you very much, said Molly. Right, shall we go? But where was Tec? Oh, Tec.
And there he was, still playing with the children. "Come on," said Molly. "Bye," the children shouted to their new friend. And even though the hospital was a warm and friendly place, Katie and Tec were very glad to get back home to Family Farm.